Welcome back to my channel for an episode you guys asked for, namely shooting the new Hasselblad X2D Mark II with the brand new 35-100E lens mounted and testing out what's the magnification, how close can I go to my subject. I mentioned the specifications in my lens review of the XCD 35-100mm. And then of course what you asked for is mounting the two extension tubes. Each of these is 9mm, combining them is 18mm, and then seeing how much can we boost magnification and will this convert this camera lens combination into a reasonable macro lens for reasonable close-up shooting. Let's kick this off. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please do so, subscribe, hit the notification bell and support my work. Many thanks for that. As a little side remark before I go into the topic, I really appreciate you guys dropping me comments and saying, can you review this? Can you review that? And there's a lot in the pipeline currently, a lot going on. This video here is a shorter one. That's why I just squeeze it in. And I will do the same exercise with the XCD 20-35E, which is the other exclusive lineup lens from Hasselblad, because you also asked for that. But I'm also working on a comparison between the Leica SL3 and the Hasselblad X2D Mark II, this beauty here. And that is something a lot of people actually asked for. And I'm also working on a couple of videos on other Leica gear, Canon gear, Sony gear, and Nikon gear. So there's a lot which will come in the next weeks. And astonishingly enough, in my opinion, my video about the Olympus TUF TG7 got a lot of resonance, and I will also provide another video on that camera, which is not the typical type of gear I represent on my channel. But it's fun and people like it, so why not doing it? All right, now let's go right into the topic. The subject for my shooting will be a $1 bill. I was in NYC last week, brought this $1 bill home, so I want to take close-ups of that money. And it's glued to a book, so we have a straight plane for our focus. What are the settings I need here? First of all, I want to center the focus field here, so we get focus on this $1 bill. Then I think I can shoot in aperture priority here, so let's go to aperture priority. I think I can shoot widest open since this bill is glued onto a book. And by the way, the book, nice one. If you see through the LCD here, through the live view, the book, this is the Museum Leica book. It's written by Lars Netopil and is an unbeatable source of information about Leica gear. It's a really good book. I got this as a gift, and I'm really happy to look into this book from time to time, also to look certain things up on Leica gear. All right, so I'm aperture priority. Let's see what else do we need here. I need here just single drive mode. Maybe self-timer is good. I don't want to shoot here with focus bracketing. It's not necessary, even with a very shallow depth of field. The way I glued this bill to the book, it will be fine and everything will be sharp and in focus. I think 3 seconds self-timer is fine, 1 frame, and when finished, that's this one here, important, I want to stay because we'll take several shots, of course. Widest open f2.8, as I said, is fine. I think I can shoot at the base ISO, and the base ISO for the Hasselblad X2D Mark II is 50. And you see then we have here 1 hour 60 seconds kicking in. Let me go to this screen, then you see it better. And I think that's it. In terms of white balance, I stay on auto. I have here on focus point, I have spot, I have deactivated subject detection, and I'm in autofocus single here. That's what I want to use. All right, that's it. Let's take a first shot. Let's see if we get this sharp and in focus. You see the $1 bill where it is written 1 a little bit flickering. That's a moire effect because it has a lot of structure on it and lines. But let's take that shot with self-timer and let's see how it looks like. All right, here we go. Let's go in this, and this is sharp and in focus. Here the famous pyramid, very nice. So this is good. In my lens review of the XCD 35-100E, I already provided the minimum focusing distance in the wide angle and the tele setting, and also its maximum magnification. And I'm currently here at 35mm, and then my minimum focusing distance is 0.4 meter. If I go into the tele setting, and let's go into live view, and go to 100mm, you see I'm already deeply in that bill. Then the minimum focusing distance is 0.5 meters. So based on that, it should not be able to focus now. and you see it's not possible. So I need to move that book a little bit more far away from the sensor plane in order to be able to focus. And that is, of course, something I'm going to do in a moment. But before, let's quickly talk about the magnification. So with 0.4 meter in the 35 millimeter setting, I have a maximum magnification of 1 divided by 8. But in the tele setting, it's actually the double magnification. It's 1 divided by 4 if I focus at 100 millimeter and 0.5 meter distance. I moved now the subject a little more far away from the camera. We are talking only about 10 centimeter difference here compared to the 35 millimeter setting. And I measured the distance here with a meter, and at 0.5, I made sure that we have here alignment with the sensor plane. And with the tip of the meter, I was actually touching the bill. So that is exactly what the maximum magnification will be if I take that shot now. So let's take it. And here we go. I think that will be fine. Let's go into play mode. Let's tap in. Yeah, we get a lot of structure in that $1 bill. Look at that. I think this will be perfect and will get much closer now if we mount the extension tubes from Hasselblad, and in this way further reduce our minimum focusing distance. I suggest we stay in the tele setting here, because in the tele setting we already get the double magnification. Doesn't make sense to do it in the wide angle setting at 35 millimeter. We get only 1 divided by 8 as maximum magnification, and in the tele setting at 100 millimeter we get 1 divided by 4. So I suggest with the 2 extension tubes to also shoot in the tele setting in order to get the maximum magnification we can get with that camera lens combo, which is the question you asked me. I switched the camera off for a moment. It's actually not necessary. You can hot swap lenses on Hasselblad X2D and X2D Mark II cameras, but I switched it off because I need to grab the camera here. I don't want to do any accidental touches, and this lens here sits very firm on the lens mount. I mentioned this in my lens review, and if you have not seen it, please look it up. I post the link down below in the info box. I need a lot of force to unmount that lens. Watch here. Really a lot of force and a very strict grip. And then we have now the extension tubes here. Let's align them red dot to red dot. This is the first one. Then we have another red dot to a red dot. This is the second one. Let's snap them in, and then we get this all back assembled to the camera body. Let's get this here, 12 o'clock, and then it snaps in. Very good. And now we have 18 millimeter extension, 9 millimeter plus 9 millimeter, and that will enable us to go now much closer to that $1 bill, which is our subject for that shooting. It says first lens initializing. That's normal if you mount something new with electronic contacts where the camera recognizes. And now we are done. Let's spend a moment on the distance scale you see here in the live view, because there is something really ingenious going on, very well done by Hasselblad. And let's quickly try to summarize what we see here. So in my introductory video on the 2 extension tubes from Hasselblad, I showed you they have electronic contacts. That means the 35 to 100E lens can fully communicate with the camera body through these 2 extension tubes. And the camera now figures out in camera a very clever way what your focus range is. The minimum focusing distance you see here is calculated as 0.35 meter. And the farthest distance you can have is 0.65 meter. And in that video back then, when I introduced these 2 extension tubes, I already mentioned that you lose the ability to focus at infinity. And here it gives you the exact range, 0.35 to 0.65. That's where you have the ability to focus. You cannot focus beyond or before. And that is something I was not aware before I made that video. Is pretty cool. And I can also, as I showed in my 20 tips and tricks with infinity focus and focus at the minimum focusing distance, I can also tap and hold here. And then you see the 0.65 turns green. And since the dollar bill on the book is closer, everything is blurry. But since I'm currently about at the 0.35 meter position, if I tap and hold here, it also gets green and my dollar bill is sharp and in focus. How cool is that? Have you been aware that this feature is implemented? I was not. I just became aware when I made this video. Drop me a comment what you think. I think Hasselblad did this very, very well, how they include the extension tubes, each 9mm and combined 18mm into a setup with a camera lens combo like the X2D Mark II and the 35-100E. And here it should be able to focus. It will hunt for focus a little bit forth and back, unfortunately, because that's the case when you are at these close distances and have extension tubes mounted in between, but it will find focus. Here you go. And now we can actually take the shot. All right, shooting is done. I took a couple of more shots to be on the safe side. Want to look at them now in Lightroom. We'll show you, of course, and then I will conclude the video. I want to show you a few images and point a few things out. And you also see there are not only images of the $1 bill here. As I said just before, I took a couple of more shots because I wanted to really conclude on the capabilities of the XCD 35-100E with the 2 extension tubes mounted. And the first one is a pretty bad image if you look at that, but it's this beautiful museum Leica book and the $1 bill just in an ugly way glued to the book. But if we crop in to 100%, it updated now in Lightroom, this looks really good. I mean, this is really a beast of a lens on a beast of a camera body. And if you look at that, this is so sharp, so clear, so crisp. In terms of micro contrast, people here scribbled obviously on the $1 bill. This looks really, really good. And for, you know, testing purposes, it's a pretty interesting motive, I think, a pretty interesting subject. Let's go to the next one. This is now at, oh, by the way, I forgot. This is, of course, shot at 35mm. This was the very first image I took. Then I did shoot this at 100mm because the magnification is double. At 100mm, it's 1 divided by 4 instead of here 1 divided by 8 at the minimum focusing distance. And also here, this looks pretty good. Look at that. Again here, traces of a pen. Looks really nice. I think you get so much details here in this image. It's really cool. Look at this. Very, very nice. So I think this looks good. I'm happy with that. And then I mounted the 2 extension tubes, 18mm, 2 times 9mm. And I was now so close to the $1 bill that I needed to shoot the left-hand side, then the right-hand side. And then I did stick them together to a panorama. I also cropped in a little bit. And this is a $100 bill in all its beauty. And that looks really good. Look at that. A lot of detail. Let's go over here. Let's have a look here. Very nice. Very good. I really like it. So these extension tubes, they really bring you much closer to your subject, as I showed in my introductory video on these gadgets. And in this way, you can really have close-up situations improved a lot. If you look at that, really nice. Let's go maybe here. It's absolutely fascinating what you can do with this combination. And then I wanted to find out if I also can do focus stacking with the extension tubes mounted. And there is the focus bracketing menu in the Hasselblad X2D Mark II. As subjects this time, I wanted to have something not flat like a dollar bill. So I choose a toy car. It's actually a Lamborghini Aventador. Pretty nice car, although not really affordable in real life for normal human beings like me. And the car has interesting reflections if you look at that, depending on where the light is coming from. We'll see that later when we actually do the focus stacking in Helicon Focus. And as a second subject, I used my little dragon, which I use sometimes. And I did shoot both subjects with focus bracketing and then later stack them together in Helicon Focus. My settings for the toy car shooting were the following. Under focus bracketing, step size medium, frames I did go for 150. There were too many. I could actually throw away a bunch of them because then everything was blurry. Initial delay 5 seconds, so that's a self-timer. Exposure delay 1 second, and then I did shoot the sequence towards infinity. For the Dragon, I kept all of these parameters, but changed the step size to small and also changed the focal length from 100mm as for the car, now to 75mm just to try it out and for giving you more examples of how this looks like. It's always fun to see Helicon Focus live doing the stacking of focus bracketed image sequences. So let's have a quick look and enjoy it. So let's also have a look at these two images. Here is the car, the Lamborghini, and you see this is shot at 100 millimeter. And you have these awkward light reflections here. I showed the reflections before in a little video clip, and sometimes the rendering cannot really process that, what you see on the car, but generally very, very sharp. It needs to update. Here we go. You see how sloppily they basically paint the Lamborghini logo, which is very, very small, super tiny on the car, but it looks good. And the focus stacking really works with the two extension tubes. It's no problem at all. Let's look through the window here. A lot of dust and dirt. I'm always shocked how much dust my toys catch if I don't lock them away. And the dragon is also nicely captured here. And you see here, this is shot at 75 millimeter. And if I crop in here by 100%, this looks really good. Lightroom needs to update this. Look here, and you see in the step size small, quote unquote, it didn't actually read the tail of the dragon. And that's although I was actually shooting 150 frames. And the step size is something you need to experiment with in focus bracketing if you want to do it with the Hasselblad X2D Mark II. But also here, let's look at the eyes, nicely captured. And again, a lot of dirt on that toy. I think with this, I will conclude the video. But I will in a moment tell you something really important which I found out and where I will make a separate video about, because that might be a crucial information for some of you who plan to shoot the 20 to 35E with the two extension tubes. All right, that's it. That's all I wanted to say and show. I hope you liked it. What I discovered as a side observation in the shooting with that lens is that the wider the focal length on these zoom lenses, the more narrow become your focus possibilities and the more narrow is your focus range. And that will be interesting to try out and play with on the 20 to 35E. So stay tuned and don't miss that video. That is definitely something I will explore in greater detail and will go much deeper in my coming video on the two extension tubes mounted between the Hasselblad X2D Mark II and the XCD 20 to 35E. If you liked that video, don't forget to drop me a thumbs up. Stay tuned on my channel. There is always more to come. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and healthy. And of course, peace out.